Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
We're so pleased to have on award-winning songwriter, singer, she does it all, author, and also a filmmaker, Kim Cameron. Kim, thanks for coming on the show.
It's a great time to be here.
Well, especially with everything you've got going on, it's like, wow. You had your Christmas album that just released in November, with new songs on that. Over the summer, your Perfect album, and then in your spare time, you have your children's book series, 5 books currently, with a new film out and a soundtrack releasing this month.
Yeah, I'm a little tired.
So talk about this. I mean, how did you end up getting into, the whole film genre and everything with the children's books and all?
Well, film to me is a natural extension of music, right? You can't have film without music.
Right.
Can you imagine watching something without that background music? Even if it's not prevalent, you have to have it. So when I was writing music, of course, the first dabble that you get into film is the dreaded music videos, which I really do dread doing them because everything has been done. There is no original idea out there, so it's very hard as an artist to come up with how do I express this song that 17,000 other artists haven't already done. But so that was my kind of first step into film, even though I am a broadcast journalism major.
Right.
So it's not that film is foreign to me. But so I started probably kind of midway through numerous music videos, doing my own music videos as far as, directing them and producing them. And then when I started writing the children's book series, in my head, I always thought it should either be transformed into a TV series, an animated TV series, or feature films.
Yeah.
And after several years of thinking about it and trying to figure out how to make it into a TV series, I couldn't make it work. Like to me, the stories had to be all inclusive, meaning, that right now the series is 5 books.
Right.
And so to me, each book stands on its own as far as a complete storytelling
And the first
experience.
book is in what, the 4th or 5th reprint already?
It is in the 4th reprint right now. The 4th reprint is a little bit fun because I've actually taken movie scenes and had an illustrator turn them into illustrations. So now you kind of see the full circle of that particular story. So, my first kind of challenge when I had decided to move that into a feature film was converting a story into a screenplay.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Which is a very different animal. And that took me, and even more so is converting that screenplay into storyboards, which when you're working in the world of animation, it's not like film. Film is you look at things by the minute. In animation, you look at things by the second.
Right.
So how long is this arm going to go up, or where is it going to go, or where are the eyes going to turn, or are the eyebrows going to go up,
especially
or
when
whatever.
you're dealing with, people and sea creatures. I mean, how did you come up with the name?
It just came to me. Quite honestly, I wish I could say that it was something inspirational, but to me, when you create characters that have superpowers, but the main character being Emma, she's in the sea, and that's when she discovers she has these superpowers. So to me, it was a natural. They're superpowers. They're not superpowers.
Right.
So that's. I mean, it was one of those. While I was writing, I thought, well, I don't want to call this superpowers. It doesn't seem. It's overused word.
Certainly.
So,
But it's nice that you tied it into the sea. I mean, you're based out of Miami.
Yeah.
And then also, with the film and with the books, I think it's great that you're bringing across a positive message. And the films are G-rated, so they're fine for all the families. And approved by Dove. And so it's like, that's pretty cool to have a film and book out there like that it can appeal to everybody, and with the soundtrack releasing this month with 20 songs on it.
Yeah, well, that's always the challenge, right? When you do a feature film and then to narrow down which songs make the cut for the soundtrack, because obviously you can't release, well, you could release, but it didn't seem like a appropriate way to release a 2-album, what do you call them now, because everything's digital. But theoretically I could have all 50 songs on there if I
Right.
really wanted to do that and go crazy. But yeah, I mean, when you're looking at animation films and animation and children's stories, today I feel like we're putting too much pressure on kids. We're trying to make them grow up and make these really big decisions at age 5 and 6,
Right.
and that doesn't seem fair.
No.
And I just wanted to go back and say, okay, what are the things that I enjoyed as a kid? And I loved to dream. I loved to think I had these magic powers, whatever those might be.
Right.
Gosh, it'd be great to be able to talk to animals. Remember those stories that you would have people or adults that could talk to animals, and I wanted that. I wanted to be one of those people. And as a 5-year-old, I think that's important.
Right.
It's important to have something that is extraordinary as a 5-year-old, and let your mind wander and let them be creative and come up with their how far can their imagination go?
Certainly.
Because it forces us to grow, to
Yeah.
think outside of the box, to come up with ideas. And so that's what I wanted to do with the children's series, was let's go back to how much fun it could be to be a kid, how much fun it is to read. I don't have to make decisions about something that I don't have to deal with until I'm an adult.
Right.
Those things we have time for that.
Totally. Well, and then you create your other music for the big kids, because you do a lot of, dance music and everything. Great music. You've gotten a lot of awards, international awards, and certainly performed for NFL and also for baseball and even in China. And so, you've really got like multiple careers going simultaneously, and Perfect came out after kind of a health scare.
Yes, so after my second vaccine shot, I got that dreaded some heart inflammation issues. And so we went in to fix the heart inflammation issues to see if I could get rid of it. I had responded very badly to it. It was actually very rare. It's typically an in and out procedure, but my heart decided that was not something it wanted. So I developed this inflammation around the heart, and it was a very, it wasn't the best experience of my life. You have a lot of inflammation around your heart, which means that your heart can't beat.
Right.
So you bottom out, and they have to go in and drill things into your chest and get the fluid out and basically save your life. So, Perfect was something that was an inspiration after I received all of this care and feeding from my friends and family. I mean, the outpouring was incredible. Not that I didn't know I had friends and family, but the amount of care and kindness, it really overwhelmed me. I was so touched, and so that was the impetus of that particular song and remixes. Yeah.
And just fun music, and very invigorating. And then also, we were talking about, your Christmas album, that's out with 2 new songs and everything. Perfect time of the season to listen to some Christmas songs. So you just felt like you needed to jump in there and do some holiday music?
Well, people have been bugging me to do more Christmas songs.
Right.
So, and I keep putting off every year. And so I have 3 that are out, and so this is adding to that collection.
Wow.
I decided these were not going to be originals, but an original take on some old standards.
Certainly.
So the first Noel is, it sounds more traditional than the artistic expression I've done, but when people hear it, they'll say, wow, that's very jazzy, right? But that's what it felt like to me that song needed to go to. Yeah. And then the Blue Christmas is a laid back, very, very bluesy
Really
take
like
on
that.
it. And so I wanted to have people, have a new take on what those Christmas classics were, just to keep them interested.
Right. And some of your favorite songs.
Some of my favorite songs.
Right. So, once again, in music, you started out playing clarinet at only 6, did all the marching bands and all this stuff. and been performing for a number of years now in between your books, your films, all this stuff. Where did you find time to become an aerialist also? Because I thought that was pretty cool that it's like, oh yeah, there's not enough things to take up my time during the day. I need to take up aerial dancing.
Yeah. So about 7 years ago, I was actually on tour in New York City. And at the time, I had a residency. So like every other Saturday night, I was performing up there, and which I loved. It was right in Soho, and couldn't be more fun, right?
Yeah.
And I went out afterwards one night to a club, and there was this woman who, just beautiful woman, who was, she didn't even work there, but she got up, and there was this pole in the middle, got up and did all of these tricks. And I was mesmerized. I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Clearly, I don't go into strip clubs because it was my first experience of seeing a pole dancer. And so I struck up conversation. I was like, how did you learn how to do that? And she said, well, it's only taken me 4 years, And I said, I need to learn how to do that. And so when I got home, I found a aerial instructor,
Right.
pole dancing instructor, and just worked at it. I mean, the first year was brutal because you have crazy numbers of injuries and bruises all over your body that you have to kind of get used to seeing because the pole doesn't care.
Right.
And the lack of strength I had was very apparent when you try to do these tricks because, again, there's nothing holding you up. It's just you.
Right.
So you really have to develop a very, your core has to be strong, your arms have to be strong, and you get to see how much you can really endure. And then you get to figure out your fear, right?
Right.
It's all about, do I feel confident that I can hold myself? Do I feel confident I can go upside down and not fall on my head?
Yeah, I would fall on my head. There's no question.
It just took me to another level of what is it that I can test myself and so it's become one of my passions. So now I do actual aerial shows and which is a completely different.
So it's like merging all of the
Yeah.
with your music
With my
and
music.
with aerial shows.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the aerial dancing, I'm still getting used to doing that in public. That one I get really, really nervous about because I didn't consider myself a dancer before. So I'm still, right before, I do the little shake thing and my hands get nervous. Not so much that I wouldn't do the trick right, but I would forget some of the moves because it's a lot about the choreography.
Very complicated.
And
like you
then
said,
the
the
moves.
strength, and it's like, I got used to seeing a lot of them with Cirque du Soleil in Las Vegas, and just ridiculous. Suspended up in the air with rings and pieces of fabric. It's like, I don't know how they do that.
Yeah,
Just amazing.
it is, and you make the wrong move or you have the wrong position and you injure parts of your body, which I did. I've injured both shoulders and
Oh my goodness.
had to rehab them back, but try not to do that again.
And in between playing guitar
Yeah.
more and all this stuff too.
All those things, yeah.
Well, I want to make sure too, and you've got another movie coming out in 2023.
I do.
Can you tell us anything about that?
So this is the sequel to the first movie. So the first movie is based on the first book, obviously, In Search of Blue Jay's Treasure.
Right.
So this is the next book called Mystery of the Blue Pearls. It actually stars Vanilla Ice. Vanilla was super fun to work with. He is true character. Like, minute he walks in the studio until he's back in the studio recording to walking out, he's a character the entire time. It was a pure joy to work with him, I have to say. So he is a starfish in the second, and the starfish has its own sort of superpowers that he gets to use.
Incredible.
This is geared towards, the first movie was geared towards about 4 to 7. I've anticipated that people who watched the first one would grow older. So this is more like a 7 to 9, 7 to 10 kind of age group.
Incredible.
It has a lot of dance music in it because once you get older, which, 7 to 9, not necessarily older, but, and it also has a lot more rock in it. So I was really trying to appeal to that slightly older age group in the kids. And it's got a lot more action associated with it. The content is much more like, there's a lot of pirates got involved, modern day pirates.
Right.
So I felt like it needed a little bit more grit to it, a lot more fast pace.
How incredible. So we've got, Superpowers, the second movie coming out in January. You've got the soundtrack in December. And then you obviously had Perfect that released this summer. You've got your new Christmas EP, the third album of Christmas music. And you're going to be doing more books, more great things. I want to make sure for our viewers, Kim, for your website and for social media and everything, where can they keep up with everything you're doing, including speaking to classes
That's
and,
right.
all these great, and aerial shows?
That's right. The best place is to go to kimcameronmusic.com. So, and list my schedule of things that are going on. If anybody wants to know more about the movie, superpowers.com, and that you can kind of scroll through the books and scroll through the trailers. So both of those are the best places to
And
find
you
us.
and Vanilla Ice will be doing press junkets and stuff too?
I hope so. We got to squeeze it all in.
Well, Kim Cameron is so thrilled to have you on the show. Congratulations on the movies, the music, the albums, the books, everything you've got going on. We appreciate you joining us on The Rock Interview.
Thank you so much.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.